family into your dream home to start a new life, only to find yourself subjected to nonstop harassment from your new neighbor. That's what a black family in Virginia Beach has been living with. They describe an escalating campaign of racial slurs, loud music, and monkey noises. So, yep, a black family moves in and the neighbor tries to drive them out with monkey noises. Local police say while the behavior is appalling, it is not criminally actionable. Janique Martinez joins me now. Janique, thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. Good evening to you. You moved in 5 years ago. What's living next to that been like for you? I mean, did it start right away?
No, it did not start right away. It started maybe about a year and a year and a half afterwards. And it started off, just, during the day. And again, depending on which one of the families stepped out, a different song would play. The lights on his house would start blinking because as we step out of our home, we would trigger sensors that would then turn on music. Or we had one family, as soon as they pulled up in their driveway, the music would start. Or you step outside your house, everything will start recording. Or it was just constantly feeling like we're on surveillance, and then the music was just the cherry on top. It was a lot.
So,
but that's what it started with, was that.
You got banjo music, monkey, and animal noises, flashing lights, but there is more, and I want everyone to listen to what else your neighbor is playing. Here it is.
From now on, if a person uses the word nigger, it must be at least 7 words away from the word guy. It appears that the nigger guy of the mimic is Opal.
You've got 3 kids, right? How do you explain that to them?
To be honest with you, my 2 older kids, they handled it very well. They just ignored him and just knew that, he was ignorant, and they paid it no mind. But my youngest, who just turned 7, he used to be terrified. And I say used to be because now he's come such a long way and he's found his strength and he's found his voice. But through, he's been living in this house since he turned 2. So that's all he knows. And so he was terrified. Yeah. He would be afraid to go get his ball if it ever went over there, or he would just constantly feel like he would come out and yell at him, which he has before. He'll call the police on the kids if they, go on his lawn to get a toy. He was just so afraid of him.
Have you spoken to him? Did you ever reach out to the neighbor and say, hey,
Only one time. Again, throughout the years, we try not to, talk to him or provoke him or anything. But one morning, we had just began virtual learning, September 2020. And, it was a hard time for us all. I'm working remotely, and where our office is, it's right next to his open window, and the music was blaring, and I went out there. It was around 8 o'clock. We had just logged in for school, and I asked him to turn it down. And his response to me was, well, let me call the police to make sure I'm in good standing with the law to play my music. And I was floored, because how about you just be a neighborly person, a parent, anything, to just understand where I'm coming from. And he was adamant that he was doing nothing wrong.
Have you ever considered moving?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
So I got to tell you that we reached out to your neighbor for comment, but haven't heard back. Police have told us that there is no crime being committed, because you said, you wanted to see if he was in good standing with the law. What happens when you call the police? What do they tell you?
I tell them about the noise, and they said they'll come out, and they do every time. They come out, they ask him to turn it down, and he turns it down. The last time I called and I expressed to them about the escalation with the N-word, and she said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do, go down to your magistrate." And I said, "Okay," thinking that would be a solution. And this was on a Saturday. Monday morning, I go down to the magistrate and I felt dismissed. He said that it was a figure of speech or freedom of speech or a phrase, and I just was like, so where do I stand? Like, so there's nothing I can do. He said, "Well, we don't handle stuff like that. You have to go to civil court." I said, "Okay." So I went to talk to a judge in civil court. And although he was a little bit more compassionate, he just basically told me that if he did not threaten my family or pose any bodily harm, that there's nothing the courts could do about it. So leaving the courtroom, I felt deflated. I felt so defeated. I just felt like I couldn't protect my kids. I couldn't imagine living like this while in my own home. I couldn't imagine it. It really broke my heart.
Janique Martinez says that since July, her family has had to endure recordings of loud, screeching monkey noises and recordings of racial slurs directed toward their Virginia Beach, Virginia home every time they leave or enter their residence. Martinez, who is Black, claims her neighbor has set up motion sensors to detect the family's movements and harass them. But police, citing no physical confrontation or verbal threats, have said there is nothing they can do. Following national news attention, however, Martinez said the loud noises coming from her neighbor's home have finally stopped. But she says the neighbor continues to display dizzying strobe lights. "I feel like it shouldn't have to be violent to be against the law," Janique told a news outlet. She also says that the neighbor still has 8 cameras pointing at her home. "This isn't about me," said Janique. "Racism affects so many people in this country. No family should have to live with this kind of harassment." Janique says it all began in 2017 when her neighbor began playing loud music, about a year after the Martinez family moved into the cul-de-sac. This past July, Martinez called local police to file a noise complaint after hearing what she describes as deafening music coming from the neighbor's home. The situation then got much worse, with the neighbor allegedly beginning to play loud sounds of monkeys. The family says they often heard the N-word coming from the neighbor's home. Earlier this month, footage of the neighbor's home, complete with pulsating lights, loud banjo music, and clips of South Park characters saying the N-word, went viral on social media. Janique says her 7-year-old son is frightened by the neighbor and would ask what the N-word meant because he heard it so often. But when the Martinez family reached out to police to end the alleged harassment, they were told the neighbor had not broken any laws. A statement from the Virginia Beach Police Department reads as follows. The VBPD has responded to several calls for service over the past several months related to nuisance, loud music complaints on Jessamine Court. As appalling and offensive as the neighbors' behaviors are, the city attorney and Virginia magistrates have separately determined that the actions reported thus far did not rise to a level that Virginia law defines as criminal behavior. This means the VBPD has had no authority to intervene and warrants were not supported. We will closely monitor the situation, investigate complaints within the limits of the law, and help this family with this most unpleasant situation. Martinez believes if the roles were reversed or if she were a different skin color, there is no doubt something would be done. "I feel like if we were white, a lot more would have been done," she said. Some legal experts say that police can, in fact, intervene in the case. Kim Ford, Missouri, a professor at the University of Virginia School of Law, believes the police inaction on the outrageous situation is a cause for concern. He also says that the neighbor's alleged behavior may run afoul of the fighting words doctrine that allows the government to sometimes step in when language could incite violence. Ford, Missouri, said that police should attempt to stop the alleged harassment and let the courts decide from there. Courts read that doctrine narrowly, he said, but if you understand the nature, I think it's reasonably likely that this could cause the family to react. But other law enforcement experts say that bringing a hate crime against the neighbor could be tricky. You can walk a fine line and not cross over into something actionable. Dana Schrad, executive director of the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police, said, "This neighbor knows exactly how to walk the line, but it doesn't make his actions any less harmful to the family." Meanwhile, Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring told the media that the neighbor's alleged behavior is unacceptable and that his department's Office of Civil Rights had been in touch with Janique. The situation has roiled Virginia Beach. Michael Berlucci, a member of the city council, said at a town hall meeting that while the neighbor's alleged harassment may be legal, it is not right. The safety and dignity of everyone in Virginia Beach has to be prioritized, Berlucci told the media. And Berlucci said that while some of his colleagues have publicly denounced the alleged actions of the neighbor, others have not. Black people should feel safe in every neighborhood, he added. We really need to make sure that everyone knows that the city won't stand for this, and I'm committed to that. Berlucci said police have received a verbal agreement from the neighbor that the noise activity will stop, but Martinez says other harassment still continues. Other neighbors have also come to Janique's defense. 9 complaints have been filed against the neighbor, mostly for noise violations and parking complaints. So far, however, the neighbor has not been charged with a crime. Virginia Beach is a coastal city in southeastern Virginia. It is home to nearly 500,000 people. About 66% of its residents are white, while 19% are black. 2 of the 11 city council members are black, although the city has traditionally been dominated by white politicians. Virginia Beach also has a history of racial unrest, including a riot in 1989 that damaged scores of businesses. Martinez credits her 11 years of military experience in helping her keep her cool in the ongoing confrontation with her neighbor. The calmness and level-headedness has been embedded with me through my military career, Janique said. You are constantly being tried and tested, and you have to maintain your military bearing. I also work really hard to get where I am, and I can't let one person who is a coward get the best of me. Martinez says her immediate community and family have been supportive in helping her navigate through this ordeal, but she maintains that something needs to change. Police could have done more, but they have made a choice not to, she said. The issue is really what the law will enforce and what it won't. I feel like racism is not an issue in this country because it doesn't affect white people, she added. It affects us in a country that was never for us. All right, so are we not in 2021? We are not in 1965. We should not be still dealing with situations where white people think that it is okay to be racist and to be open with their racism. If you want to be racist, you can be racist in the privacy of your own home. But when you go as far as to subject an entire neighborhood with monkey sounds, with racial slurs, other white people that are in that community, they don't want to be involved with that. It's obvious because you see the support of the other white residents for Janique. They're outside picketing with her. They're standing with her in the community. They are letting the neighbors know that are racist that they are not going to tolerate that behavior. This is an affluent neighborhood. It is houses that are, very well to do. The neighbors are, everyone's doing well for themselves. And like Janique says, she worked her way up to get to the level that she is. Okay, this suburban neighborhood, it's mostly white, and for these white people to think that just because a black family moves in that you're going to be able to scare them off with these monkey sounds and with the N-word and all of that. Like Janique says, she worked too hard. She works entirely too hard. She risked her, her life, her livelihood. She's a veteran. She served in the military. She's risked her livelihood and her life for our freedoms. So these are the same white people that are racist, but it's okay for a black person to go serve in the military. It's okay for them to lay their life down for you and your family and your fellow white citizens. It's all right for us to lay our lives down. But when it comes to living next door to you, living, in the same vicinity, in the same neighborhoods, and having the same quality of life, you don't want us to have that. So thinking that you're going to run the girl out of town with these noises, I'm glad that she stood up for herself, because this is terrible. It is insane to think that in the year 2021, we are still dealing with people that would rather be racist and don't want to see black people have anything, don't want to see us come up. They feel like the world is theirs, everything belongs to them. Now, a lot of you guys looking at this would say, I would have went over there and I would have dragged them out, I would have did this, I would have did that. But if you resort to violence, that is exactly what they want. So then they can point the finger and say, see, this is why we don't want them in our neighborhood. This is why we cannot live next door to black people, because they don't know how to talk anything out. They resort to violence. So her doing exactly the way she went about things, filing complaints, calling the police, even though the police say the neighbors are not committing any crime, there's nothing that they can do. Well, you see that the city officials and other people in the city are saying there is something that needs to be done, and we're going to look into it. The chiefs of police saying, no, we're going to look into this. Because it should be something that they can do. Just because someone is not physically harmed, you have not physically touched someone, you are still promoting acts of bigotry. You are inciting violence, because this family can react in a violent way. Someone that is not the family and that might be living on the block and hear those sounds could react in a violent way. So you are inciting violence. So just because it's not a crime where someone was physically hurt or where there was, any physical violence taking place, there is some type of violation. There's civil rights violations that are occurring. So there needs to be some civil rights leaders, some civil rights attorneys. Somebody need to go on down there, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, someone need to go on down there and see about Janique Martinez and her family and find out what civil rights laws were violated, because absolutely, she's a homeowner. She owns her home. She deserves to live in peace in that neighborhood just like everyone else. She should not have to be worried about a neighbor pointing 8 cameras at her home. That's an invasion of her privacy. Where do you get off as a civilian, a neighbor? You're a neighbor just like anyone else. You're a civilian in the neighborhood. Who are you to point 8 cameras at someone's home? You're not a law officer. You're not an officer of the law. You're not a federal agent. You are a civilian neighbor. Where do you get off? And where's this footage going? All these 8 cameras, they got 8 cameras pointed at this woman's house. Where's the footage? Who's watching this surveillance footage? So that's what I need to know. Those are privacy rights being violated. Her privacy is being violated. 8 cameras? Why do you need 8 cameras pointed at someone's house just to watch her comings and goings? So I really believe that the neighborhood, they need to get, just like they're doing, they need to get involved in this, and they need to let these neighbors know that they are not tolerating it. They're not going to stand for it. But again, like I tell people, white people will do anything to keep us out of their neighborhoods, including jack up the prices. When you're a renter, when you're not actually buying property and you're renting property, they got these old ass houses in these nice neighborhoods. These houses be old as all get out. They need improvements, but guess what? They'll jack those prices up because they want to keep us out. They'll jack a house that might cost $800-900 in the South or something like that. They will jack that price up to $2,000, $1,900 for rent just so black people can't afford to live in that environment. And you know that's what they do. So I'm really proud of Janique. You know, I'm proud that she didn't act in violence. I'm proud that she didn't go over there and snatch somebody out by the feet, by their bare feet, by their teeth, by their hair, by their wig, by the hairs on their chinny chin chin. I'm glad that she remained humble and calm and respectful and a law-abiding citizen. Because no matter how much you might want to snatch somebody's head off and you might want to knock somebody's head off, unfortunately, that's what they're waiting on you to do. That's why they're provoking. That's why they're provoking her. That's what they wanted her to do. And we all can say that's what we would do, but then we'd be locked up too. Sometimes we got to think with our heads, we got to think with our minds, and we have to remain calm. We got to remain cool. I mean, I can't imagine what I would do if I had a neighbor that was playing monkey sounds, that was actually letting me know that, you know, I'm calling you a monkey. I don't want you here. I am saying that you are, you know, the scum of the earth. You're a monkey. You're a scum to me. I don't want to be around you. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I know that I would not resort to violence because I have a lot to lose. Just like she said, she has built her life up. She's served in the military. She's not going to let someone, a coward such as that neighbor, allow her to lose everything that she's worked for. She's a mother. You know, you don't know, you know, how hard the next person has worked to get where where they're trying to go or where they're at. So we don't want to lose what we have over violence. We don't, you know, no matter how much that might have pissed you off or pissed me off, I would have to, you know, just calm down, you know, get my bearings, and I'm not going to lose everything I have, because you already know, no matter if we want to fight and we want to resort and retaliate, you'll be in jail. You'll be in jail, and you just, everything that you worked hard for, down the drain over one moment of retaliation. Even though it might feel good to snatch a person up by their edges, you know, to snatch them up by their bare feet, and, you know, to just go off on them and show them like, you're going to respect me. At the end of the day, that's why a person would retaliate, because they want to show this person that you are going to respect me. While you might be racist and you might have these racist ideas and these bigoted ideas, you're going to respect me. So the fighting and the violence and the retaliation is out of, I am demanding my respect. But from a person that is a bigot, a person that is a racist, you don't need their respect. You don't need to get, there is nothing that they got, nothing, no level of respect that you want them to have for you. It is not going to satisfy that need, because they're never going to give it to you. They're not going to give it to you, and they're going to do it purposefully, because that is their whole, that's what they're setting out to do anyway. Just get under your skin. Just, you know, they're setting out to try to make you feel lesser than. So if we retaliate and we act the way they want us to act in violence, then they can point the finger and say, see, there they go, acting like hooligans, there they go, acting like animals. So why you want these animals living next door to you? To send them on back to the ghettos, send them on back to the city, to the urban areas. We don't want them living around us, because they do not know how to talk out anything, any of their disagreements. They don't know how to talk them out civilized. All they're going to do is result to violence. So with her keeping her cool, and with her, you know, responding appropriately, calling the authorities, even though the authorities are not doing anything about it. But like I said, some of the other community leaders and, you know, the chief of police, he's saying he's looking into it, because there's got to be something. I mean, where do you get off playing monkey noises? Just think about that. There's other races other than black people that would be offended by something as such as that. Not everyone is in agreement with that. I mean, that is appalling. So I applaud the other white neighbors. I applaud them standing with Janique and, you know, saying that they're not going to tolerate this in the community, because it is disgusting. It is appalling. And the white people, they kill me with this behavior. They kill me with this behavior. I mean, they kill me with it. This is not 1965. This is 2021 going into 2022. Black people are on the rise. They are on the come up. They learning about cleaning up credit. They learning about being homeowners. And they are purchasing homes in affluent neighborhoods. And, you know, in very very nice manicured lawns, suburban neighborhoods where it's all whites. And so white people got to get used to that. You're going to be looking up, and next is both your neighbors going to be black, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, because black and brown people are really starting to come up. They're learning the importance of credit. They're learning the importance of being homeowners and owning their own businesses and having capital. They're really learning about what it means to be, self-sufficient and what it means to be successful in a business and oriented environment, in the real estate environment. You got black people, Puerto Ricans flipping homes, flipping real estate like never before. So black and brown, we're coming up. We're coming up in this world. So whites got to get used to it. It's not going to be where you got all these neighborhoods to yourself anymore. Black people are moving. We're moving on up to the east side. We're moving on up. And you got to get used to it. So that's all I got to say about this topic. I ain't got no more. This has been another edition of Frightober, Monkey Business, and this was some monkey business. Episode 3, Monkey Business. You guys be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're going to keep this content coming throughout the month of October. I'll catch you on the next go round. Bye.